Hello from YouTube land. This is Grixon, and we are doing an 18 core to stars. Let me pause this right here. So, we are going to be talking about pole by pole mechanics, all that good stuff, bosses, everything. So these are the talents that I'm running for this dungeon. As we get higher into the keys, especially on a tyrannical week, Bloodshot becomes pretty important on tyrannical. It's starting to become my go-to in general. This helps when you Death and Decay and then you Hard Strike. That's 5 target cleave. 5, count them. That's all physical. So it can help a lot in the packs as well as the bosses. And then another big thing here is Rune Tap. It's a pretty big deal. So as you get higher in the keys, you start to get trucked a lot. Rune Tap can be used on pole quite a bit. So definitely worth using. Pretty often. Our tier set is going to give us a lot of runes on demand. So your 2 set, whenever you use a bone shield stack, so when you just get hit, you have a 20% chance to gain a rune. This does not work with Tombstone. So Tombstone will consume 5 runes. This will not give you 20% times, like 20%, 20%, 20%. Like it won't give you 5 times tries of that. It doesn't work that way.
Your arrival is fortuitous. Tonight the nobles have gathered in honor of the
What?
Grand Magistrates.
We're using 75%. That should be fine. So we're going to be talking about the route. We're going to be talking about the graveyard death skip after the first boss. We're going to be talking about dangerous mobs from a tank's perspective. We're going to be talking about boss mechanics, the whole kind of thing. I've been doing this quite a bit lately with just higher keys. I've been doing somewhat of like a guide. So if you don't have a rogue or a demon hunter, just pull this guy. But if you do have those classes, go ahead and grab him. Go ahead and skip him, I mean. If you don't, grab him and run up here either way. So this is kind of a big pull in the beginning. So let's pause this. Okay, so let's talk about some things. The sentry here, he is going to try and run to this like tower, this bell tower. And he is going to try and call reinforcements. If the cast goes off, you're going to get an extra mob that has like insane amounts of health, more than anybody else. So in this first pull, we want this pack. I like to grab this guy as well. And then if you're Blood Decay, over here towards the dock side, there is another sentry that you can yoink in, and it's pretty nice if you can manage it. So if you have to pull this in somewhat phases as you stabilize, no problem. Alright, so you want to worry about the construct. The construct has charge smash you need to get out of. Alright, so there's a few things here. Charging station you want to kick. Alright, quelling strike. Okay, let's talk about a few of the mobs so you understand how they work. Quelling strike, if you can see, it's very faint right now, but it is a frontal. This frontal will absolutely clap. And it's going to be where the tank is. So as a tank, positioning is going to be king here whenever there's guards around. You want to position it away from your friends or your party or your team or whatever you want to call it. And then you need to sidestep it. So that's that. We already talked about sentry. Sabers, the saber tigers, whatever, they're just going to jump to random people and do damage. The construct has 2 big abilities. Charging station, which will like amp up surrounding enemies, and then also the fortify, which should be kicked as well. So whenever there's a guard in the fight, you want to sidestep him. Sorry, it's not fortify, suppress. Suppress. Quelling Strike, I move.
Countered.
Charge Smash, I move.
Countered.
Quelling Strike, I move. And look at that, ult's also moved. So this next pull, I do a dock pull. And this has like 4 guards in it.
Adrenaline rush.
So you're going to have to move a lot.
Countered.
So the name of the game here is Quelling Strike.
Countered.
If you see Quelling Strike going off, move. Especially on fortified weeks, this is going to one-shot you. It's going to one-bang. So watch out for that. So just as it's happening, just watch out for it.
Countered.
So basically, anytime there's a guard in the mix, which is pretty often in this first section of the dungeon, you know, definitely do that. Alright, so if you notice, I'm holding off on fighting. Hold on, I'm going to pause this. There is a patrol right here. This patrol, he kind of goes from like here, and he goes around to here. You don't want to pull him. You do, however, want these worms. So when he leaves, you can pull them. He will social aggro, so just be very mindful of that. So once he leaves, I grab. Of course, we still have the guard, so we have to watch out for Quelling Strike. So all I'm doing is just on my screen, watching the guard and waiting for that. So I pull in the construct and then also the worms again. We do have a guard again, so I'm watching Quelling Strike. That's where my brain is. Suppress, you know, it should be kicked. Fortify, could be kicked. Charge Smash, you need to watch out for. But it's like, there's a guard, I'm watching Quelling Strike.
Anti-magic shell.
Also, if you notice, the sentry over there is like kind of doing his own thing. Our rogue saw it happening and understood to kidney shot him and bring him down so we can just kind of deal with it. I like to pull this room, and I'll explain why in just a little bit. But just know it has more guards in it.
Countered.
So that's just more positioning for you. Basically, if you do the death skip, or you're in a pug scenario, I like to pull this so when people run back to the graveyard for the door to open, they don't have to worry about butt pulling that. Okay, I like to double up this pull, but because there's a sentry, I want people to hard focus the sentry first. Then I will double pull. Okay, sentry's dead. Let's grab. Okay, so you've got 2 guards in the mix. I'm going to pause one more time here. Sorry, I'm going to pause one more time here. So these rails here, you can decide, which could be very helpful for a pug scenario, is to face these guards frontal, like towards the rail, and then just kind of like move over a little bit so the rest of your team can kind of know to stay on this side and they won't ever have to worry about a frontal. That's one option you can go about it. What happened? There it goes. I don't do that super well, but that is something you can do. Court of Stars is not a hard dungeon. It can be complicated with the randomness of it, but it is not a hard dungeon. The timer is very forgiving, and as long as you just like come at this like methodically, it'd be fine. So, alright. I said leave the right one up. We'll pause one more time. There are three charging, there's three stations here. There's three, like, pillars. You want to disable these, but if you leave one up, there's one right here too. If you leave one up, your RP for the last boss is faster. And all leaving one of them up, all that does is he brings in one reinforcement, and the reinforcement's super easy to kill. There's like a kick you have to do, and that's it. Also, ooh, I put my baby toe on that, and it just like one banged me. There is a potion on the altar where you fight this guy. Basically, if you are an alchemist or a rogue, you can interact with it and poison it. And all that means is he's going to die at 25% instead of at 0. So it's very helpful. There's that Dusk Wash. That's that reinforcement I was talking about. You just have to kick hinder, and that's it. You have to stay out of his frontal and his backle that he does. It is purely on the tank, so you want to like just keep it away from your team. It isn't always like easy to do, but keep that X like frontal and backle away from your team the best you can. That resonant slash. And that, if he poisoned it, he's going to go down at 25%. So that's all you have to get to. But 5 more percent, he's out. And there it is. Any other damage here is just padding. Alright, so I like to get this pack right up here. The guard is telegraphed and easy, and the worms die super fast. The only thing to worry about with the worms is they drop a swirly on the ground that you have to step out of. That's it. Alright, so the death skip here involves just running past this guy with only the tank, or somebody who can invis past it, like a night elf can run past and then shadow meld. That'll work. I think a rogue can handle this. Oh, that's something to notice right over here. If you fight this, do not fight it here. Don't do this, okay? Don't do that. Because if anybody stands here, this patrol that goes by will get pulled and run around and then just make this horrible. So just don't do that. Fight it, like fight it in this area, or even grab this over here and fight it over there if you have to. That's fine too. Because this is going to be a full wipe for everyone. So if you're going to do the death skip, just do it. Or take the construct into the building or something like that. Don't fight on the stairs. It leaves the opportunity for your team to like butt pull.
Tranquility.
But now we have to spawn and then do it all over again. So what I should have said here was stay here, I'll just do the skip. That would have been the way to go. But so if you do the skip, you have to run back from the first boss to those stairs. And that's where somebody can butt pull that like little house that I pulled from before. So what I'm going to do here is kind of the worst of all worlds is I'm going to get aggro and I'm going to run. So I'm going to use my nitro boosts here and just go through the two houses, the little connectors.
Countered.
You have to do this random stuff to get to the next area. I'd say this dungeon has 3 different like staging areas, or like 3 combat areas.
Countered.
That first area we already dealt with the
Roar.
little stations you had to disable. The second is this kind of more demon area. And the third is inside the building. So this is bringing you here. This is where it spits you out after you go through the 2 buildings. You can't deal with this Imp and Inquisitor pack right off the bat, but
Countered.
you need to have some stops. Those firebolts hurt. So
Countered.
you need some AoE stops. You need, capacitor totem, you need blinding sleet, you need leg sweep, you need anything that can AoE stop this. So having all this together right now is a big deal. We don't have a lot of stops. This actually, we're lucky. All these imps did firebolts right onto me, so it actually popped my purgatory. So, that's not good.
Shell.
But it's good that it hit me and not the rest of the team. Okay, so if you were to do the death skip, you come out here and you actually run up here. And then you just let yourself die. And what it's going to do is going to open the double doors. So people from the beginning of the dungeon can just run right through. Alright, so this dungeon has a lot of things you have to worry about. One, you want to get to 94% count, or like 93.52, or I don't know, it's something like that, but 94%. And so these enforcers give 5.26%. That's a lot. They do an ability called Fell Detonation. It does AoE damage and leaves a nasty dot. So you can LOS this. So you want to find a pillar and fight him on one side and then move to the other side. If you're a DK, you can do AMS and like not leave. You'll be fine. But it's only going to work for like 1 out of like every 2, every 3. So you will have to still play this LOS game. What that's going to do is it's going to bring one of the mini bosses down. There are 3 mini bosses in this area. You need to clear them out before you fight the actual boss. This one is I'ma cut ya. I'ma cut ya. She does an AoE scream. It's not that dangerous. And then a 360 like physical damage thing that you just have to sidestep. So she's not that scary. Yeah, Whirling Blades you just get out of. Screaming Pain, you just have to kind of take that damage. So this whole area is trying to find enforcers to get enough count and kill the 3 mini bosses before you can fight the boss. However, there are randomized items in this area that can spawn, that can pull down a mini boss for you without fighting an enforcer. The only problem with that is you won't get that 5.26% count you need. So you have to make that up with mob pulls. I do something weird here. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I did this. I can't explain it. I have no excuse. So this is the second mini boss, the Watchful. And they always come in the same order, by the way. The first one's always I'ma cut ya, and then the Watchful.
Adrenaline rush.
He does Impending Doom, which will put a dot
Countered.
on people. It'll put a dot on 2 people, and it'll do big damage.
Magic shell.
It needs to be healed. Disintegration Beam needs to be kicked. So Impending Doom comes out. It's a heal check. If you're a DK, you can AMS. Really help out your team.
Counter.
But any personal is greatly appreciated here by your healer. And then kicking Disintegration Beam. Okay, so we have 2 dead. Now we have to find the other one. If you look on my mini map, on this side is our other enforcer. That'll take out all 3 the mini bosses. There's a patrol who goes by, so we have to kind of go around him. Again, we're at 85%, we need 94. That's kind of our magic number. We got to take down all 3 mini bosses and get to 94%. And that's a mix of enforcers or items. Our rogue distracted. It actually distracted the construct and the imps, which was a bit unfortunate. Okay, here we go. We're going to fight these imps alone. And we're going to do whatever things we can here. Okay. We're going to grab these because we need, unfortunately, we need them out of our way for the enforcer. The enforcer kind of patrols around, so you got to be careful there.
Anti-magic shell. Counter.
Searing Glare, obviously, you should kick. Bewitch can be kicked, or you can grip him to interrupt him too.
Iron Bark.
I popped Purgatory there. So now we're going to fight this enforcer. I'm going to fight him by this doorway, and we're just going to run inside. Or around the other side of the pillar. That works too. Either one. You have an option.
The elements answer to me!
So we are above count.
You! Have a look over there!
And then you gotta fight this little mini guy. And I'll pause it for his telegraphed things. One of them's not super obvious. That one. So I'll talk about it again. So Crushing Leap is telegraphed and it's super easy to avoid. The other one, this one, Shockwave. You can't really see it super well, but it is a frontal shockwave. If you see it, just sidestep. That's all you gotta worry about. He's a super easy mob to fight. And every time he'll glow red for the shockwave. So just, if you see shockwave, just move out of the way. And that's the same for your DPS too. They need to move. See how everybody moved out of that way? It will one-shot a DPS for sure. And I mean, that's it. You could pull things with him if you wanted to, if the DPS understood how he works. The only thing that's scary there is the shockwave, which you can easily sidestep. Okay, now we're going to do the boss. So the boss has 2 different mechanics here. He has one that'll be kind of a DPS / heal check, where he'll do AoE flame damage to the whole team.
Adrenaline rush.
And the other one, he'll put something at your feet that will spawn imps. And then Burning Intensity is the AoE, which will hurt. It'll pulse damage. Infernal Eruption is what puts at your feet, which means you have to stack up, and then it'll spawn imps. Kill the imps, they work exactly like the other ones. Withering Soul needs to be kicked. If you don't kick it, it'll most likely be a wipe. Other than that, it's pretty much heals and DPS check. You just stack up and move over to the side every time. And that's it. He's not hard or complicated. Just have to be a little bit coordinated and stacked.
Adrenaline rush.
Burning Intensity, you can stop somewhat of that damage with AMS.
Counter.
But it is heavy AoE damage this fight, so. The imps again you want AoE stops for if any casts start, but realistically they should die really fast. So the higher these burning intensities go, the more damage it'll be, more stress on your healer.
Counter.
I mean, that's the whole fight. There's really not much more to talk about there. Burning Intensity 5 is getting kind of scary.
Counter. Adrenaline rush.
And yeah. So you want to go get your disguise. Don't forget to get it. Get your disguise, and now you're doing the Among Us slash, I don't know, guess who clue thing. So pretty much you gotta talk to these people with the little like dialogue boxes on their heads, and it'll give you clues. If you have big wigs slash little wigs, you will get a clue box here, which will tell you they have gloves, they have a pouch, they're female, they have a cape on. Like, it'll tell you what you know, and they have a light vest. So from there, you need to find the person who has all of these attributes and then talk to them. If you get it wrong, you'll be teleported back outside for like a 30-second cooldown, or it's 15. I'm not exactly sure the amount of time. But you have to find the correct person. Now, it is worth noting that if you're a paladin, you can transmog the shield from Legion, the artifact shield, and you can find the person right away. They will glow for you. If you're a demon hunter, after you have found all 5 clues, you can use your spectral sight and find the person as well. If you don't have any of those, you have to kind of do that whole guess who. Then he'll bring you out here, and you'll fight him. It's like a Dreadlord from Shadowlands Season 4. The big thing here is Vampiric Claws. If you're Blood DK, you can AMS those Vampiric Claws. How Vampiric Claws works is it'll do shadow damage. However much of that shadow damage hits you, he will heal back himself. So AMS will completely stop all healing and all damage. The other thing to worry about is the bat. The bats keep coming. You need to stun it. So blinding sleet, all the things that people can do to stun. So, as a blood DK, it's blinding sleet or asphyxiate. Shadow Bolt damage, or Shadow Bolt Valley is AoE shadow damage, but for you, Vampiric Claws is a big thing. And this does work for AMS, AMZ can also limit it. Rune Tap and Icebound Fortitude can also limit it. But the best by far will be AMS. He just won't heal at all from it. So he drops some keys, somebody has to pick them up. Once somebody picks them up, it'll open the door. You can open the door for the last boss. And this last boss is kind of a tricky one. It's going to heavily rely on somebody's positioning. He does a mirror image, which
Consider this your
it
chance.
goes off of whoever is
Dispose of these outsiders.
7 yards away from him. So the whole team needs to stack except for one person who's 7 yards away.
Adrenaline
And that's
rush.
what the mirror image will go on.
Bloodlust.
I'll try my best to show it right. Blade Surge. Right, you can see it. It's right here. Our shaman, Livelock, who is a YouTuber, he is baiting these out. So he's putting it there, and it's like a little mirror image of himself. There it goes. And you'll see why that's important in a second. So Piercing Gale. I'll get you on the next one. Basically, Piercing Gale. So another Blade Surge comes out. Slicing Maelstrom is AoE damage you need to worry about. Ooh, also, if you're a DK, you can do AMS, and you can grab these little area denials and just clear them out of the way. But I'll show you the.
Anti-magic shell.
So Blade Surge, he has 3 copies of himself out now, and then he does Piercing Gale. So you want to tank him in the middle of the room. If you tank him in the middle of the room, this is what happens. These will go off of where he was. So they're going to come around, and then they're going to come back around, right? Oh, that's the wrong way. Like this. Like they're going to come back around. And so you're going to have a safe zone of safe. All of this, iffy that. So the reason why you want to tank them in the middle of the room is so that they all converge onto that one area. You want to converge it there. So ideally you want to try and copy these in a close area, but if not, just keeping them somewhat in a clockwise area is fine, or counterclockwise, whatever, so they're somewhat well positioned. But then look how they all converge. You want that. You want to make it as safe as possible. So as the tank, you want to keep the center super safe. Here I am AMSing to try and get rid of a lot of these. And the Slicing Maelstrom is a bunch of AoE damage. Okay, Piercing Gale, go to the safe areas. And that's the whole fight. There's nothing else to think about here. You need one person baiting,
Anti-magic shell.
and that's it. And then possibly stacking for the Slicing Maelstrom. But as the tank, you want to tank him in the middle of the room so that the Piercing Gales happen and they converge in the middle. It is nice for the healer to do it, just because they can heal and bait relatively easily with low downtime. But see, it's still scary. I would still like to see them stacked a lot more than this.
Anti-magic shell.
And that's the fight. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you learned something. If you didn't, I'm sorry. Did, I don't know. If you guys have any comments, questions, happy thoughts, or concerns, leave it down below or join the Discord. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.